I'll just stand here. Hello. This is where I work, or at least that was the photo from the job advert. Anyway, I've been there about a year and a half now. It's been a really interesting day for me. There's a horrible or good familiarity about a lot of the stories I've heard, which I found quite comforting. I mean, I think some people might find it a little bit tedious for some of my slides, so I might skip a few. But lots of similarities. So I'm just going to start with my favourite academic member of staff. And then I'll talk about a couple of lessons learned. I think everybody's got, I've learned that today as well, everybody's got one of these in some way, Nicola. And she's really nice. And in 2010, she was a published researcher, Nikki. Also in 2010, she joined us as an established member of staff, as a lecturer. About 2 days afterwards, in the same way that I did, she pointed out that actually she'd like to be called Nikki rather than Nicola, even though she was published as, had filled in her application form as Nicola. She decided in 2011 to start using her partner's surname as well. She left us in 2012, and then she started publishing as Nicola Wilson Wood, without a hyphen, which I found quite a challenge. In 2013, she came back to us as an hourly paid lecturer, and a little bit after that, rejoined us as a senior lecturer, as back in the established staff again, with a bit of an overlap there as well, actually. Can you see that? So I started, we've been running an identity management project using, largely in-house, but using FIM with a little bit of help from OCG. And it's been running for nearly a year, I think. Depends where you think we started from, but which is a bit of a matter of debate. But we just started to, we're just about live. And I started to think, well, I better have a look at the data in a bit of detail, because I know that FIM is going to take control of all of my data. So we better have a look and see what it's going to do. And this is her accounts. So there's only one HR record for her, which is good, actually, and that's, our HR system's not bad. She's got 4 AD accounts, 2 Blackboard accounts, and only 1 SITS account. And I think, well, it's maybe not too bad. AD is a bit of a, that reflects the manual actions there's been over the last few years. And then I started thinking, well, let's just play join the dots, because this is what FIM's going to do when we switch it on. And that is the truth. So we can sort it out. My main learning point today is, for me anyway, is I should have looked at this 6 months ago. I really should. I didn't realise it was that bad, and that's actually the main reason we're not live. And I was hoping to get live before, because we could still call it FIM. We were due to go live just before Christmas. But it's going to have to be renamed MIM, I think, before we actually get live. But why does this matter? Why does this matter to me anyway? The way we've set up our identity management system is we've decided we want the HR system, because it's only for staff at the moment, the HR system will own the primary key of these people. And what FIM will do, it will try and disable all the ones. It'll try and decide which one is used, and it will try and disable the ones which it thinks aren't used, and it'll make the wrong decisions. And what's important is we need to certainly keep email addresses. I was interested in what Jonathan was saying about email address for life. We are trying to do that. And it's all really important they don't lose any work, particularly in Blackboard. And what I've realised is, we're quite small. Cumbria is a small university. We've got 1,800 workers, depending on how you define a worker, which is always the question. But I reckon more than half of our staff members have something of that nature. And, it can take 2 hours to talk to them, to find out what they're doing. Maybe I've tried, you can systemize it a bit. You can make rules about matching on parts of surnames and approximate matches. And But at some stage, you've got to make some decisions about that. And, you know, that's 4 people for 3 months, or 24 people for 2 weeks, as my sponsor tried to persuade me recently, which I wasn't going to have any of. So, Cumbria, we're small, we're dispersed, 5 campuses, many more sites, and particularly, because I've heard a lot of mention about affiliates, and I'm interested in the ARMS things people have talked about, affiliate management system. We're very collaborative, and there's a huge spectrum of collaborative, from people turning up from other organisations teaching our students or teaching their students on our sites, to the other way around, and lots in between, and not a great deal of knowledge about what they actually do. Fairly standard set of systems, resource link for HR, AD, SITS, Blackboard, and things that hang off that, of which there's quite a few. And IT provisioning is a mix of manual and auto, and it's that mix, it's that halfway that gives the problems. I'd actually rather it was all manual to be moving from. And the project started because we started as a university being asked some quite awkward questions, like who works here? Well, you know, we do returns, we do HESA returns, I believe, on answering that question, and it, yeah. And what do they do, and what systems do they have access to? And we can answer those questions, but not straight away. And we'll get different answers depending on how you ask. So our answer was, first of all, we've gone live with a vacancy request system, a worker engagement system, which is basically our request to recruit that used to be on Word forms that were emailed in a workflow system. It's quite good. It's quite good. It was cheap. It's based on Havas's Engage ATS recruitment system, which a lot of people use as their public job application process. And then we said some rules. You don't get IT access. If you're any sort of worker, you don't get a worker's IT access unless you're in the HR system. We're going to have a role matrix. We decided, I basically taught myself how to use ResourceLink, and we decided to use ResourceLink to describe the role. And there's a lot, you know, it's a really underused system, and I suspect quite a lot of HR systems are. There's a lot we can put in there. We describe the whole university structure in there. We describe all of the departments, we describe all the locations. We can now describe all of the roles, including all the affiliates, honorees, all the life models, mace bearer. We've got a role called mace bearer. And we also said, and I think this is quite crucial, we're not going to have, you can't be in there without a line manager, and that's fine for normal staff, but to have a line manager for an affiliate, for somebody who works for another organisation is quite key, because they should be. We shouldn't be giving them access to anything if somebody who works in the university doesn't know what they're doing and who they are. And we can communicate them. So we can with our FIM system, we can email them. We can warn them they're about to be disabled. We can tell our line manager that they've now been enabled. So I think that's quite critical. And what we do, because we've got their role and we've got their location and we've got their department in the structure, then we can default a lot of things. And we just created a database that FIM reads that says, it's as simple as if you're in this location, we put you into this AD security group. And the AD security groups are clones of the manually managed ones that sit below them. So we can take people in and put people in, take people out. And then we got FIM, which is good as a toolkit, and there's quite a bit of C# that's had to be written to do the MAs out of HR and into other things. And Lee, who's sitting at the front, is our senior developer on that. So if there's any questions about that stuff, we better ask her. And we decided we're going to join everything on the employee ID. So learning points. I would have designed it all as one big integrated database. I only just twigged when I started looking at the data. That's what it is, and what FIM is doing is joining this all. It's joining up the Blackboard database, Active Directory, SITS, and our HR system. And it has to have referential integrity across there, or at least you need to know what integrity it has. Which when I look at it now and I listen to today, I think, yeah, why didn't I know that? But that's what FIM does to me. That's what this tool does. It joins these databases up. Establish the primary key. I was interested in what Jonathan said this morning, because you're basically not doing that, and we will have to cross this further bridge when we take students on. You're kind of we're trying to dedupe to get to the point of having a unique primary key before we go live and then maintain it. And I know we won't be able to do that when we move on to student world. But it's, as somebody else said, it's baby steps as well, and I think it's the right decision for us at the moment. So we're saying the primary key on which you join in this big integrated database is HR employee ID. And then we have to be saying, and this is part of the design of the system, is what will happen when the identity management takes control of the secondary data. Will people still be able to log on in the same way as they do now? And there's a lot of complicated answers to that question, and it depends on the system, and that's where we are now, I think. I'm going to put that. Oh yeah, remember, it gets worse every day, because I'm trying to clean up the data right now before we go live, and of course the data is changing every day. So what I'm doing is building a correction system that's capable of reprocessing the corrections and feeding in the new data every day. And then I realize actually I'm building FIM again. So it's been a real big thing, that learning that. The second thing, I think actually we did this, I wish I'd done it more explicitly, is make really tight definitions of what the identities are and what the people are, what they do, who hires them, how do they hire them, who actually pays them. We make quite a lot of distinction between how they get paid. And probably the biggest thing is who ends them, because nobody's interested in telling us when people have left. They typically are interested in getting the person they've only just realised has turned up, but they desperately wanted to get access now. Nobody wants to tell us when they end. So we made this map, and permanent established members of staff are the tiny little top left green box. Everything else is in the affiliate, honorary, partnership, board member, who get very, very special treatment, world. And the blue bits in the middle are the people we pay as suppliers. So they're consultants, they're agency workers, they're people we have less compliance responsibility for, and we happen to pay out of a different system, but they're still going to go into the HR system. So that was really hard to do, is to define what people are and what you mean by what they are. And the third thing, we've been going just about a year. We had two projects, HR and process stream, it was called, an IT stream. An IT stream was about getting FIM and learning how to use it and writing it. And we had HR and process stream. And it's been brilliant to partner with HR. I'm not quite sure how we managed to achieve that, but it's been really good. And I go and work in HR, I talk to them, they come and work with us. It's been a challenge as well, but running the two things as separate projects has been quite difficult. Where we are now then is here, and I'm now facing this data cleanup exercise a month before we were supposed to go live. So first of all, I'd have one project, but I'd have a much better look at the data earlier on, data and process earlier. Basically, we used Oxford Computer Group as a consultancy. I think we had 20-odd days consultancy, and we had them in at the start to talk about our plans and the way we were thinking of doing things, and which was great. And they said, well, your big problem is data, as Jonathan said, as other people have said. And the next thing is you need to get your processes right, because you need to have somebody who's controlling these people. And we said, yep, right. And then we just kind of went off to play with FIM a bit, really. So we didn't listen, and we paid them, and we didn't listen. So I would look at that. You get a lot of pressure not to, you get a lot of pressure to proceed. One of the big things that James alluded to before as well is people do glaze over. People are constantly having to explain how can this thing possibly take so long. It is way more complicated than I thought it was. Another learning point, make a test system. We hugely underestimated what it would take to have a test Active Directory domain and all the things that are connected to it. And how do you test Skype for Business connected to a test Active Directory domain? You know, we did it because we were scared of doing change in life, and it might well have been better to find a way of doing that rather than build a test AD domain. And we'd probably be live by now, I think. Anyway, that is actually all I've got to say, other than I've got a list of 127 questions that I wish somebody had made me answer before we actually got started. And there's some of them, and I'm happy to share them. And some of them are very, very, very specific. You know, what do I do with non-English names? Yeah, can a worker have multiple jobs? Yes, they can, multiple jobs. So I'm happy to share any of that stuff with anybody, because I do have a list of 127 questions, and I'll shut up there, I think.
Any questions? James is here as well, so we could do a combined question. Oh, go one up here.
Sorry, me again. Question for James. Given that you sort of didn't really have any budget, I was just wondering, did you look at any of the open source identity management systems?
No.
Yeah, was that a deliberate decision, or did you just not think of it, or was it not the right sort of fit for you, or did they not do what you needed? Or
We had a whole load of people who already had various vested interests in. I feel like a wedding singer now. We had a whole lot of people who. Is that actually doing anything? Yes. Is it? Okay. We had a whole lot of people who had a load of vested interests, and not vested. That's pretty. That sounds. They'd already been ploughing different furrows, and we had somebody who was who had this idea for building this Oracle database that would provide a single repository for information. We'd already licensed Cumbria and been using that historically, so it wasn't something that really came up. There were plans for how we could. There were sort of plans emerging, and it was better to go with people's enthusiasm and capitalise on that than start saying, "Oh, now let's go and procure something else," even if it was free.
okay.
Was there 127 questions?
Anyone else? Oh.
Hi, it's just probably question number 128. Have you provisioned for the fact that Nicola Wilson Wood's going to become your principal and wants a different email address?
Yes. Yeah. Actually, different, multiple email addresses, not too bad.
What happens if somebody else is already using the one that she wants?
She becomes Nicola Wilson Wood 5, I think. Yeah. Whether she likes it or not.
Do you want to speak to our principal?
Okay, we're back on time. Another coffee break. It's 15 minutes this time. If you can be back just before 1:45, that'd be great, and we'll get started for the last session. Thank you.